I'm on the trail of a new generation of criminals. They're fueling a fraud epidemic.
I was starting to panic because obviously my account hit zero. I just started crying.
Their targets are everywhere. Big brands, the banks, and they could be coming for you.
I feel like, how stupid was I to believe this?
They're openly using social media to run criminal networks.
You could potentially earn anywhere from £2,000 to £4,000.
And promoting fraud as a lifestyle choice.
I'm a London scammer. I see it, I want it, I click it, and that's in the bando pirates whipping.
He's saying, I'm making all this money, and if you want to make this money, here's how you do it.
My name is Kafo Patter, and I'm investigating what happens when fraud goes viral. There's one crime that's most commonly experienced of all. Fraud. It makes up 40% of all criminal activity in the UK. During the pandemic, it boomed, costing us all more than £2 billion in a year. For many, the crime begins with a dodgy text. I found out where some of the messages like these are coming from. Earlier this year, Emmeline Hartley was fooled by a text from Fraudsters.
Well, there was a text, first of all, from the Royal Mail. It said on the text, delivery failed, you need to pay £2.99 additional postage fee. And I've paid that before, and it kept directing me to the Royal Mail website. And then I clicked back, scrolled around, and then I entered my details. And then I got a phone call the next day, which was on my birthday, from my bank.
In fact, it was the fraudsters. Because they had used the information she had entered to the fake Royal Mail website, she believed it was her bank. They convinced her to transfer her money into a different account to protect it. Emmeline suddenly realised she had just paid over £1,000 to criminals. Everything she had.
I just broke down on the phone. He was still on the phone. I just started crying, and he was still trying to calm me down, knowing full well at this point there's nothing else he could get out of me, and eventually just gave up and hung up, to which point I wailed.
Emmeline shared her story online. It went viral. It led to messages of support, and she got her money back from the bank. But Emmeline also received some disturbing messages.
I started to get other messages from people who were supposedly within the scammers network as well, which were a bit worrying. So a few of them sent me screenshots of the scammer's bank account with my money in it, in the exact transactions that I'd sent, the exact figures. So I knew obviously that it had come from them. It's surprising how public and open it is. It's almost as if it's not illegal.
The photo that showed Emmeline's money going into another bank account was posted by someone calling themselves Uncle Vio. I want to find out more about him and what he's up to. It turns out this little green king has been marketing himself on social media as a fraud consultant.
With the economy in a rough spot, generating a legal source of income has become tough, but Uncle Vio is here to assist you.
This promotional video was posted on Snapchat.
You could potentially earn anywhere from £2,000 to £4,000.
Uncle Vio offers a way into fraud.
So, if you're interested, don't hesitate to message us today at Uncle Vio for more information.
His marketing might be professional and modern, but this is old-fashioned crime, as his victims know only too well. Sending out fraudulent text messages, like the one that tricked Emmeline, is known as spamming. We wanted to find out how easy it would be to become a spammer ourselves. Uncle Vio was ready to help. He's been advertising on Snapchat for people to work with him, and he's easily reached through the messaging app Telegram. He got back to us immediately. It cost £100 in Bitcoin to buy our way in. He explained that he was offering a fake website for spamming phone numbers or leads. For £15 more, he said he would spam 4,000 leads on our behalf. I've never met Uncle Vio, but thanks to a couple of apps on my phone and £115, I could have tried to defraud thousands of people. Obviously, I couldn't take part in the fraud, so I didn't take him up on the offer. Instead, I asked if we could supply some numbers. Vio agreed to the deal, but all of the phone numbers belonged to me.
So you're interested to take this promotion offer?
Sure enough, I was targeted. It was scammers pretending to offer me a phone contract. You said you needed my bank details, is that right?
Yeah.
What details would you need?
So we will need like the source code and account number. We will also take like the card number, and the security code for taking the first one payment is the £29.
I should probably let you know that I'm actually a BBC reporter for Panorama. It's pretty obvious that you're trying to scam me. How can you do that?
So it's only like to give your contract and place the order, okay?
It's
So
clearly
you don't
it's
trust it.
clearly
So how
not
to say
though.
that, like all the rubbish to
it's
say that, okay?
it's not. It clearly isn't, because any normal provider wouldn't
Go
be
to hell with your CV department, okay?
Uncle Vio appears to be running a sort of criminal enterprise, but we haven't been able to identify him. After we wrote to Uncle Vio on social media, he phoned us using his alias. He said he doesn't actually commit fraud himself, but has people working for him. When asked about defrauding Emmeline, he said, "That was one of my boys. That wasn't even me." After we wrote to Snapchat, Uncle Vio's account was closed for violating community guidelines. Criminals like Uncle Vio used to hide on the dark web, but now they don't need to. Social media can give them enough anonymity to escape investigation.
Anonymous accounts are leaving not just a small amount of breadcrumbs to investigate them. There are no breadcrumbs. There's no digital footprint left behind them. So to investigate this is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
This anonymity has enabled some social media fraudsters to build influential brands without the fear of being caught.
Come on, man.
And there's one in particular that stands out. Meet Tanks.
Listen, look. I'm a London scammer. I see it, I want it, I click it, and that's in the bando pirates whipping.
He keeps his true identity hidden while rapping and bragging about fraud on social media.
Listen, look. I'm a London scammer.
This track has been played nearly 7 million times on YouTube. From time to time, he even posts a bit of life advice.
It doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal. If it makes you money, it is a hustle.
He is probably, one of the influencers out there when it comes to this kind of stuff. He wants to be the Kim Kardashian of fraud.
Tanks is on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok. He's built his reputation through a web of the biggest social media platforms. With a total of over 150,000 followers, Tanks is a social media influencer who promotes crime. Fraudsters on social media have brought this kind of crime to a new audience. I've gone back to my old school to meet some Year 12s. These students are not involved in fraud, but they agreed to talk me through what school kids are finding on social media. When did you start seeing those types of fraud-specific posts on social media?
I'd say around year 10, so that's like, how old am I, 15?
On social media, has this become like a thing for young people?
Definitely. No one really brags about other crimes. You don't really hear people going, oh yeah, I robbed that house last night. So that's why, if it's on social media, it's everywhere, you're seeing the lifestyle, you're seeing everything, then there's no reason for you to really think this is really bad.
I think it's very much glamorized all over social media to have the rich lifestyle, and so it doesn't really matter how you get there.
The fraudsters, they're thinking, as long as it's not my pocket, I don't care. But they don't actually sit there and think, oh, whose pocket is it coming out of? Because that person is losing out on their money. They're not going to get that money back.
For the social media generation, there's a gateway to crime that they hold in the palm of their hands every day. Online fraud against UK retailers is on the rise. On social media, it's known as clicking. Last year, it's thought to have cost the UK economy over £250 million. Tanks, the man in the mask, doesn't just rap about fraud. He's been selling how-to guides about clicking. They're known as methods.
He's promoting a lifestyle, which is what influencers do. So he's saying, I'm making all this money, and if you want to make this money, here's how you do it. You have to buy these methods off me.
We posed as someone interested in learning about fraud. We asked Tanks for a guide via Instagram. He offered us a set of how-to guides to choose from. We chose what he called the expert guide. It cost £100. The files he sends contain multiple techniques to commit fraud. We're not going to reveal his tricks, but I can tell you these methods target major brands, and there's even a way to con the taxpayer by defrauding the universal credit system. We showed the guide to fraud expert Tim Ayling. Based on all you've seen there, I'm guessing it poses a threat, or...
Oh, for sure. I mean, what he's doing here is finding weaknesses in systems of different companies and advertising that. I mean, the price, £100, he's got to be selling that a lot to make it worthwhile for him to do this. So for sure, there's going to be a lot of takers, and that in itself is an issue.
Tanks is still selling these guides. He's still making money from them. Does that mean that retailers, banks, even the government haven't clocked onto his methods?
Certainly in the finance world, and to an extent the retail world, there is a lot of technology that they have in place to stop as much as they can. The reality is that it's very difficult to stop everything.
Tanks' TikTok, Instagram and Snapchat accounts were closed after we wrote to the social media companies. Twitter said he was not in breach of their guidelines. YouTube didn't close his accounts but said they strictly prohibit videos that promote violence or criminal activity. Many of the clicking methods being circulated by people like Tanks rely on the fraudsters getting hold of stolen personal information. This information is known as fools.
We kind of use the term fools, not full financial profile, essentially what that stands for. And we know that criminals can get these through the likes of phishing attacks, so they might send you an email, get you to click a link, fill out all your details.
And once they've captured that information, what are they doing with it?
Essentially, they will sell that.
Again, fraudsters are using social media for their marketing. Sometimes they even give away free samples of fools. Like this account on Instagram.
My name is Kath, I'm a reporter from the BBC.
Some of the phone numbers of the victims were listed, so I gave them a call.
I was just wondering if you were aware that your details were online, and I don't want to scare you, but It's all sitting there on Instagram. I'm sorry about this.
It's clear that the details are real.
I'll let you go right now so you can double check your account.
I felt as if I was the one violating their privacy.
No, that wasn't nice. I know,
After making the calls, we reported the post to Instagram using their reporting tool. But they left it up there for a month. I went to meet one of the people whose information had been posted. I showed him what we'd found.
I can see basically all my details. I can see my full name, I can see my full address, my number of my phone, the number of my card, my account number, my sort code. So basically I can see my whole life here.
What's going through your head having looked at that?
It's scary. It's scary because you never realize how unprotected you are.
We've reported it to Instagram, but they haven't taken it down.
If it's still there, that means they don't care about us.
Wilson had cancelled his card by the time the post went up. But with the help of Instagram, social media fraudsters now have his personal information. After we wrote to Instagram's PR team, the post was finally taken down. But they didn't explain why it stayed up for so long. Facebook, who own Instagram, told us fraudulent activity is banned, and they take strong action wherever possible to remove it. They say they've launched a new reporting tool within the Facebook app. So, what's the government doing to tackle online fraud and its promotion on social media? Earlier in the year, they unveiled a plan to reduce illegal and harmful digital content. It's called the Online Safety Bill.
The World Wide Web was, of course, invented by a Brit, and now the UK is setting a safety standard for the rest of the world to follow.
The proposed laws were initially aimed at tackling things like online hatred and abuse, not fraud. But after pressure from consumer groups, the banks and the police, the government changed its mind. The government announced that they did want posts about fraud to be covered by the rules after all, but I'm reading the drafts of the new laws and I can't see any mention of fraud anywhere. Fraud experts say it's included in what the bill refers to as illegal content. But for some, that's not enough.
It shows they had no thought prior to the bill drafting to include fraud. After a bit of campaigning, they've said, okay, it should include fraud. But it doesn't actually do very much to hold the companies that are providing these online media platforms to account. This bill is not fit for purpose for the war against fraud. It's miles off.
The government says the new laws would increase people's protection from scams. They said that including fraud in the bill is just one part of their plan to tackle fraud, and they would continue to pursue fraudsters and close down the vulnerabilities they exploit. Social media fraudsters have their eyes on our bank accounts, so banks and businesses are fighting back. They've brought in new systems to verify their customers' transactions, including the one-time passcode. But criminals are finding more and more ways around it.
Now, the one-time passcode is essentially sent to your mobile phone so that you can authorise a transaction. But what we know is that criminals are often socially engineering the victim to get that one-time passcode.
Karina Schneider knows how easy it is to be caught out. It started with a call she thought was from her bank.
They call you, telling you your account has been compromised, but let's go through security. And they go through security. They know your name, they know your address, they know your date of birth. She say, I'm gonna send you now a one-time passcode, and then you just read the information to me, please. And that's what I did.
Karina had unwittingly given the criminals the one-time passcode, which is used to authorize activity on an account.
They say that as my current account was compromised, they would cancel my card, open a new account, and then my money would be safe. But that was just the beginning of it because I had savings as well.
How much money ended up in this new account?
£7,192.
She was refunded by her bank, but it looks like the criminals got away with it.
I feel like, how stupid was I to believe this? And I do read a lot. I see the news, and I didn't realize how damaging was this one-time passcode.
Stealing one-time passcodes is a growing criminal trend. I started investigating how one gang offered to help fraudsters do it with a highly professional automated service.
Purchase your tracks today.
OTP Agency marketed themselves through the Telegram app. They used videos like this to advertise their services while hiding who they were. The group was even on the review site Trustpilot. It was a highly rated service. So how did it work? Imagine a criminal client of OTP Agency has got hold of your details. They try to buy something, and when they do, your bank sends you a one-time passcode to check that it is you making the payments. At this point, the criminal uses OTP Agency to trigger a robocall to you, posing as your bank. I've obtained a demonstration of one of these calls from inside OTP Agency. It shows just how convincing they can be. They pretend to be calling to prevent fraud. They say if you want to stop the transaction, you need to give them your one-time passcode.
Authorized payment of £85.23 was made using your debit card ending in 1312. In order to cancel this transaction, please enter the code that you received by text message, followed by the hash key after the beep.
If you follow these instructions, the criminals will have everything they need to take your money. I wasn't the only one investigating them. I discovered an American cyber intelligence firm, Scylla Intel, was also on the case.
So, my professional focus is disrupting financially motivated cybercrime.
We're not revealing his identity for security reasons. Are services like OTP Agency, are they a one-off?
I would describe it as a growing market. And whereas fraud is this nebulous term, what's developed now are these services that make cybercrime incredibly approachable.
Scylla was looking into a wider network of UK-based cyber fraud groups, including OTP Agency. But after information was shared with the police, OTP Agency suddenly disappeared. It doesn't seem to have deterred others, though, from offering a similar service. This colourful cartoon looks like a gateway into serious crime using one-time passcodes.
Use our servers to intercept your OTPs or telepins from your target. iSpoof is here to help.
The cat and mouse game will always continue with criminals and police, but it's just about the distance in between the cat and the mouse.
Currently, who's winning that cat and mouse game?
I would have to say right now, criminals are winning.
In the world of cybercrime, it's easy to stay anonymous and hidden. But there's one social media fraudster who's not as clever as he thinks. Remember Tanks? He's the guy who raps about fraud and sold me a fraud guide. I think I've worked out where he is, and I'm on the way there now. His post about life as a fraudster reveal more than he intended. In this video, Tanks is heard saying he's a uni student.
Do your parents know what you do? Yes, my parents know I click, but the fact that I'm going to university has made them kind of more accepting to it.
In this clip, he suggests he lives in the Wembley area of northwest London.
Yeah. Train's coming in 2 minutes. I'm going to go King's Cross, head back to Wembley from here.
But the most distinctive thing in his videos that I've noticed is this, the black and grey carpet. I think I've matched it to a student's accommodation block near here.
On the right, and hopefully once we start going down, we're going to be on the road for Tanks' apartment. Left up ahead. That's good.
Now we're in the right place, the question is how will I recognise the anonymous London scammer? Again, Tanks has given away too much online. Earlier in the year, he posted a video of a run-in with the police, and he accidentally revealed his number plate. When I searched official records, I could see that it's a grey Vauxhall Corsa. All I have to do now is find the car.
That's it. That right there, that's Tanks' car. That's his number plate. It's a grey Vauxhall. All that's left to do now is wait for Tanks.
So we did, and when he turned up, we were there.
The first confirmed pictures of Tanks. I mean, they're so good. You can pretty much ID him from this.
So who is he? An eBay account in the name of Tanks gives a clue, an email address for Luke Joseph. We've been told there's someone with that name who lives in the student's accommodation where the Vauxhall was parked. And then there's this. An Apple Music page says the copyright owner of this Tank song was Luke Joseph. The clothes match, and so does the name. It seems that Tanks, the London scammer, may be a London student called Luke.
This is a talented individual who clearly is clever, but using those skills for something that in my mind is criminal and it's wrong. If Tanks is prosecuted, there is a real risk he'll face prison.
We wrote to Luke Joseph and Tanks about our allegations. There was no response. All the social media companies who responded to our questions say they have rules against fraudulent activity. They all say they take enforcement action against violations, work with law enforcement agencies, and are developing new ways to combat fraud. Only Telegram did not respond to our request for a comment. Social media has transformed how criminals work.
You can now appeal to hundreds, thousands, millions of people in one go by a simple social media post.
It's helping to fuel an epidemic of crime. It seems the governments and social media companies are struggling to stop the spread.
Social media is now the area of expertise for criminals because we are immersed in it, so they are immersed in it. So social media companies need to realise that they're part of the problem.
The UK's #1 crime is going viral. Keep an eye out for the social media fraudsters. Next time, they could be coming for you.
Details of organisations offering information and support with fraud and victims of crime are available at the BBC Action Line website.